So introduction of function. So function is a self-contained program segment that carries out some specific well-defined task. Okay, so function means a function is a block of code that perform a specific task and a group of statement is called functions. Every C program consists one or more functions. So this group of statement is called function. So one of these function must be called main function. One is executions. Okay, and functions are two types. Functions are two types. One is library functions, and second one is user defined functions. One is library function, second one is user defined functions. So examples of library function: printf and scanf, then putc and getc. These are the inbuilt functions. Okay, library functions are inbuilt functions. Next, user defined functions. User defined functions. So user defined means create functions as per your need. To create functions as per your need, it means functions created by the users. Functions created by the users or developers. Functions created by users or developers. So in this user defined function example, function name and function name or function main function, these are the examples for user defined functions examples. Next, each function performs specific tasks. A function declaration tell. So every function in this function, one part is body of code blocks consist. One is declaration part. So another one is definition part. Third one is call function or called function. Third one is called function. So a function declaration tells us the compiler about a function's name, return type, and parameters. And function definition provides the actual body of the function. Okay. And a called functions perform defined task when return statement execution or encoding, ending of the closing braces is reached. Okay. It returns the program control back to the main program. So return process is called functions. Next topic, basics of functions. A function is a self-contained program segment that carries out some specific well-defined task. Every C program consists of one or more functions. So this group of one or more functions, every like hash include uh, standard input output header files, and into main function also one of the statement, and open braces, integer variable types, integer data type arguments, passing arguments, and printf parameters, scanner parameters. These are the every C program consists of one or more functions. Defining a function definitions as different principles components, a return type, the function name, the argument declarations, and the body of the function. So body of the function. So what is the advantage? So what is the advantage? So advantage of functions, program will be easier to understand and maintain and debug. Too easy to find out debug. Debug means errors. Okay. And another point is reusable codes. Reusable the codes. Okay. Reusable the codes and large program divided into small modules. Okay. These are the advantage of functions. Next, a function definition has different principal components: return type, the function name, okay, argument declaration, any body of the function. The general structure of function as follows. One is data type. Data type is data type and function name, and argument one, argument. These are arguments. Data type means variable declaration types. Suppose integers. Data type means integer variable, integer variables, and float variables, character variables. These are the data type. Okay. So function name means function values. Here, data type values, integer values. Arguments means we want to find out some or other calculation, whatever you need, what you need to find out some arguments. Okay. So these are also one statement. These are also one statement, argument to argument. This group of total statement is called function. So C also defines a convenient and more popular from a function definitions where the data types each parameter is given the argument list itself as follows, which is used throughout the text. So data types every time define function name. Okay. And return value for to exist from the program, or we wanted to find out another find calling function, we use return value. So where data type represented data type of the value, which is return name represent function. So where the expression must be reserved here, integers, these are the declaration variables. Integers here add. So we are using it is so every function, every body or every block of the code, every function contain block of the code. In this block of the code, first every time we declare declaration part. Okay, first one declaration part. Second one is and that is called function declaration. It is function declaration. So declaration means here data type, integer data type, integer variable, a is a variable or value, and integer b, and return a plus b. It is uh, function definition. We want to find out return a plus b. The same method may be written as add into a into b. Return a plus b. Consider another function that just print all. Suppose hello message and return nothing void show message. Here we want to get output from some calculation parts like a plus b. Here declare the variables function, main function, integer variable data type, add a comma b, return. So print hello world. Consider another function to they takes no input but send the values for 5 for float get 5. 5 value is 3.14, I think. Okay, return 3.14 is the 5 value. So accessing a function can be accessed by specific its name followed by list of arguments. So accessing a function. So how to access a function? So every time one function we want to access called function through called function. So function can be accessed that particular name, arguments or name. So followed by a list of arguments enclosed in parameters. Parameter means these are the parameter symbol. Open bracket, close bracket is called parameters. Parenthesis brackets are parameters. So and separated by commas. Every separated by commas. In this arguments separated by commas. The function call may appear by itself that it is may compromise a simple expression, or it may be one of the operand within more complex expressions. So every time argument appears in the function, call are referred to as actual arguments. So every arguments appearing in the function, call are referred to the actual arguments or main arguments. So passing arguments to a function. Passing arguments means in these functions in the open parameters, we assigning the values to when a value is passed to the function by an actual argument. So we define the parameter values in the data type variables. That is called passing arguments. So every time we assigning some values to the data type variables. That is called passing arguments function. So therefore, the value of the corresponding format argument can be altered within the function, but the value of the actual argument within the calling routine will not change. This procedure for passing the value of an argument to the function. Prototypes. Every time many C compilers support more comprehensive system. Function prototypes every time defines every particular purpose. ANSI standard format each the argument data type with the function declaration. Every time we define the declaration with ANSI code. ANSI code means American National Standard Institution code. So that is the code, data type declaration and function name like type def function. Otherwise, some calculation, some data type integer sum, and type here we parameter in the passing the arguments we using with parameters. Okay, type 1, argument 1. Type 1 means the data type. Here, data type. Suppose integers are the integers, otherwise floating data type are floating characters. Next, argument 1. 1 is variables like integer variable A or integer variable B. Like these are the function arguments. Function declaration with written in this form are called function prototypes. So function prototypes are desirable because they facilitate error checking between the calls to a function and corresponding function definitions. So we want to detect errors or checking errors between the calls function or prototype functions. Next topic, recursive function. So once I repeat the function definition, function is means a group of statement is called function, or a function is a block of code that performs a specific task. Okay, function definition is a block of code that performs a specific task. Okay, functions are two types. One is library functions or inbuilt function. Second one is user-defined functions. So library functions means when introduce program or systems, so automatically built in with library functions like printf, scanf, return 0, get ch, and put ch. These are the examples of inbuilt functions or library functions. Next one, user-defined function. User-defined functions means user can create functions as per his need. Okay, user needs, it depends upon user's need. So created user-defined functions are created by the users or developers. Okay, examples void functions and main function into main functions or functional names. Okay, in the execution process, a C program begins from every C program execution sub C. Every C program begins from the main functions. Okay, okay. When the compiler processes, every time begins with the into main functions. Okay. So what is the advantage of functions? So advantages of functions mean program will be easier to understand, easy to find out debugs, and code reusability. Code reusability. And in the means, it means we can use code another program also. Okay, we can use another program also. And a large program can be divided into small programs. Okay, in case we can divide the small uh, modules. Okay, we can divide large program divided into small modules. Okay, otherwise large project can be divided among many programs. Large project programs can be divided many programs. These are the advantage of functions. Next topic, recursive functions. Recursive function means recursion is a process by which a function calls itself repeatedly. Recursive is a process by which is function calls itself repeatedly until some specified condition has been satisfied. Okay, so recursive function means one function called itself. So one function called itself is called recursive function. So every function called itself is called recursive function until some specified condition has been satisfied. So this process is used for repetitive computations, and in which is action is stated in terms of previous results, many iteratives, like in the flow control statement we used if conditions, like, so repeated iteration process until we get the result. The process repeatedly again and again process will be continue. Recursive means, so main thing in recursive function is called self. uh, every function called itself repeatedly is called recursive function. Like example, calculating fraction. So here as calculating factor, like we want to find out factorial examples of factorial means every time repeated, like suppose 5 factorial. Examples of 5 factorial means 5 into 4 into, so means n into n minus 1. Factorial formula example, n into n minus 1. Like 5 factorial, 5 is the n equal 5. Then automatically n into n minus 1. So n here, what is the n? 5. 5 minus 1, 4. So 5 into 4. So here 4 is the n. 4 minus 1, 3. 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. That is the factorial process. Until and repeated process will be continuing in the factorial process, calculating the factorial. Here, calculating the factorial of an integer quantity using recursion main function into n. N is a long integer factorial. Integer is a data type n, long integer data type. Read in the integer quantity. Print n equal to, okay, enclosed with double quotes. Scan a percentage is a decimal, and n ampersand symbol, and is ampersand symbol, address of variables. So some specified storage, we want to store something value for n, storing the value in the memory allocation process. So we want to store something value for integer variables. So reading purpose, printf is a output purpose and scanf is a reading purpose for system. Calculate and display the factorial, print n, %t, 1d, and /n for null and factorial n, call to the function. Here the call function. Here one observed, every function, every code of the function consists function declaration, function definition, and called function. So this is is a function declaration. Here we declared the n is a integer data type. We declared that integer data type, long integers. Okay, and we want to find defining the printf. We want to find some factorial number. This is the definition of function definition. We want to find factorial number. So this is the definition, body of the code. So next, here long into factorial into n, calculate the factorial. We want to calculate. So here the calling the function is printf n factorial. Calling, we want to find calling the factorial. Okay. So this is the termination conditions for calling function. So I want to show one example program. So here observe it, function declaration into my function into here arguments. These are the arguments, integer arguments. So main method into main function here from begins the code. Into results, we want to find a declaration call functions. We want to find out the result. So in results, we want to call the function means result function. So we want to compile the program for getting the results. So into main function here from begins from main and return 0. Function definition. So here we define definition means defining the value into my function integers. Data type x is a one variable and integers y is a one variables. Return x plus y. So we want to find some calculation. So we want to find some calculations x plus y. So these are the arguments 1 and argument 2 to find out calculation. Data type variables x plus y. Here we declared the data type 5. 5 is an integer variable and 3 also integer variables. So we declared the here integers. So integer my functions, so we declared integer variables. 5 also integers, 3 also integers. Compile. So compilation results, errors 0 and warnings 0. So what is the calculation? We want to find out some result. For percent is the decimal numbers result. So my function here. So what is the definition? Definition, every time, every program code contains 3. One is declaration parts, one is function call function, third one is function definition. In the definition, we want to find out for sum of the x plus y. Okay, here x define 5, x define 5 and y define 3. So we want to get result for this sum of x plus y. Go to run for the process. Compiling this program. Compile and run this program. So result is 8. So 5 plus 3, 8. 5 plus 3 equal to 8. So we get the result for declaration part and definition part. So called function. So printf result is, we want to printf call function. We want to find out first call function means. So మనం ఏదైతే గెట్ ఇన్ అవ్వాలనుకుంటున్న రిజల్ట్స్ ని మనం కాల్ ఫంక్షన్స్ లో యూజ్ చేస్తాం. సో మెయిన్ ఏంటంటే every function consists one or more statements. So every statements contain every statement perform some task. Okay, every statement consists one task. Okay, here hash include statement also one some process. Okay, and into main function also one statement. Okay, then next so function declaration. So function declaration means manam which data type. Declaration means మనం యూజ్ చేస్తున్న వేరియబుల్స్ విచ్ డేటా టైప్, లైక్ ఇంటిజర్ డేటా టైప్ ఇంటిజర్స్ ఆర్ ఫ్లోట్ అయితే ఫ్లోట్. ఓకే, సో మెయిన్ మెథడ్స్ లో మనకు డెఫినేషన్స్. నెక్స్ట్ డెఫినేషన్ మీన్స్ మనం ఏదైతే ఫైండ్ అవుట్ చేయాలనుకుంటున్నామో డిఫైన్ చేసుకుంటాం. సపోజ్ సమ్ చేయాలనుకుంటే సమ్ కానీ, సబ్స్ట్రాక్షన్ అయితే సబ్స్ట్రాక్షన్, ఓకే డివిజబుల్ అయితే డివిజబుల్, మల్టిపుల్ అయితే మల్టిపుల్, లేదంటే ఫ్యాక్టోరియల్ అయితే ఫ్యాక్టోరియల్. డిక్లరేషన్ మీన్స్ సో మనం ఏదైతే ఒక ప్రాసెస్ అనేది అంటే చేయాలనుకుంటున్నామో డిక్లరేషన్ ప్రాసెస్. సో ఇన్ దిస్ ఫంక్షన్స్ లో మనం కోడ్ ని మనం ఒక 5 times అయినా సరే ఎట్ ఎ టైం యూజ్ చేయొచ్చు. ఓకే, 5 times అయినా సరే మనం ఫంక్షన్స్ లో క్యాల్కులేషన్ అనేది మల్టిపుల్ టైమ్స్ యూజ్ చేయొచ్చు. మల్టిపుల్ టైమ్స్ ఫంక్షన్ అనేది మల్టిపుల్ టైమ్ ప్రాసెస్ అని అంటే రీయూజబిలిటీ కోడ్. అంటే ఎవ్రీ టైం మనం కోడ్ ని మళ్ళీ ఎవ్రీ టైం డిఫైన్ చేయకుండా, అంటే ఒకేసారి రాసిన కోడ్ ని మళ్ళీ ఆ కోడ్ ని యూజ్ చేస్తూ మనం కాల్ ది ఫంక్షన్ ని యూజ్ చేస్తూ మనం ఎన్నిసార్లు అయినా సరే మనం సమ్ ఆఫ్ ది ఫంక్షన్ 1 కానీ 2 times కానీ 3 times కానీ మెనీ టైమ్స్ అనేది మనం ఒక కోడ్ ని, అంటే కోడ్ రీయూజబిలిటీ ప్రాసెస్ అనేది ఫంక్షన్స్ లో ఒక అడ్వాంటేజ్. అంటే ఒక సమ్ ఫంక్షన్స్ లో మనం తీసుకున్న డిక్లరేషన్ వేరియబుల్స్ ని మల్టిపుల్ టైమ్స్ యూజ్ చేయడానికి పాసిబిలిటీ ఉంటుంది. మల్టిపుల్ టైమ్స్ వి యూజ్ పాసిబుల్ ఇన్ ద ఫంక్షన్. ఓకే, రీయూజబిలిటీ పాసిబిలిటీ. అండ్ ఇన్ కేస్ ఏంటంటే మల్టిపుల్ టైమ్స్ మనం క్యాల్కులేషన్ చేసేటప్పుడు కోడ్ లెంత్ అనేది తగ్గుతుంది. అంటే ఒకసారి ఆయన యూజ్ చేసిన కోడ్ అంటే మల్టిపుల్ టైమ్స్ యూజ్ చేయొచ్చు. సో దీనివల్ల ఏమవుతుంది, ఈజీగా ఫైండ్ అవుట్ చేయొచ్చు. డిబగ్స్ ని ఈజీగా ఫైండ్ అవుట్ చేయొచ్చు. డిబగ్స్ మీన్స్ ఎర్రర్స్ ని, అంటే ఎర్రర్ డిటెక్షన్ అనేది సింపుల్ గా అవుతుంది. సో ఈజీ టు ఫైండ్ అవుట్ ఎర్రర్ బగ్స్. ఓకే, దట్ ఈస్ అడ్వాంటేజ్ ఫర్ ఫంక్షన్. నెక్స్ట్ declaration. Every time user defined declaration. Suppose we want to find some int sum gaani, okay, some parameters ni use chesi manam aa vidhanga kuda declaration variables declare chesukochu manam variables calculation gaani, otherwise any particular actions, particular performance task.